Okay, yesterday I started talking about functional neurological disorder, or FND. It is a condition that I have personally. Lots of people with FND feel like their symptoms are imaginary, and without a diagnosis feel extremely crazy constantly. They feel like they're making it all up. It is a real condition. Your symptoms are very real. The impact it has on you is extremely real. And in the last video I did say it. It's documented extremely well that you cannot fake symptoms of FND. You can't do it. It's impossible to fake an FND symptom. And you can't control it either. It's just impossible. But they are real, and it hurts a lot when you have no diagnosis. There are a lot of symptoms with FND, and it affects everybody differently. And depending on how your FND affects you, depends on the severity and of your FND, and sometimes how long it goes without being diagnosed. Some people go like me. I went over 20 years without being diagnosed. My neurologist said that I probably started like much earlier than 18, but the seizures started at 18. So I went a long time without a diagnosis. I was in my 30s when I got my diagnosis. Late 30s. I got it 3 years ago. I got a diagnosis at 38. It can be curable for some people. People can go into relapses, so their symptoms can become completely benign for a while and then restart depending on why it's happening. So I'm going to read off these symptoms. Now, every single one of these symptoms starts with the word functional, and then with a list of all the problems. They start that way purely because they don't come with an official kind of, you have this condition, that's what's causing it. So it's not MS causing it, it's not Parkinson's, it's not this, it's not that. It's a functional neurological issue that can't be seen on any scan. So I didn't write the word functional for everything. Sometimes I just listed the actual issues that you have, because this list went on for a while. So you do have things with like issues walking. It's very real. I have that. Some people have it. I mean, some of the people that I've met with FND actually are in wheelchairs most of the time when they go out, and find that if they sit in front of a mirror, they have the ability to walk, because what happens is that their symptoms are only a symptom when their brain can't see what it's doing. So while they can see it, their brain can do it. The one thing about FND is that its symptoms can be really bad, but if you distract the brain enough, you can stop the symptom. It's a really strange condition. And And it's the same with this one. In fact, it's the same with pretty much all of them. And one woman I met, she's lovely, has to go out in a wheelchair. But at home, she's got mirrors dotted around the house. And as long as she can see in a mirror, she can walk. Unsteadily, but she can walk. It's like her brain code automatically kicks back in and goes, oh yeah, I remember how to do that. It becomes almost a psychological thing. It's very, very annoying. And then she goes out and can't move again. It's really annoying. But she's the loveliest woman ever. Things like heaviness down one side of the body. I do have that. It's not constant. It's usually down my... most of these things that I have are down my left side, if they're down my body. And it's usually my arm and my leg. Dropping things. Oh, God. So annoying. Everybody around the world drops things, right? And everyone goes, it's not that big a deal. Yeah, right, okay. Imagine this, right? You go out your everyday life, and on the odd occasion, rare occasion, every once in a while, you drop things, right? When you're doing it like pretty much every few days, it becomes almost a habitual kind of dropping, right? It gets really annoying fast. Generally, as a rule, most of the time that I drop things, it's because I'm holding things in one hand. So it's usually my phone, my keys, or simple little things like knives and forks, because they're in one hand. I do drop notebooks a lot of the time, bits of paper, letters, things like that. But they're things that I only hold with one hand. They're the things that I drop the most. So if I've got to carry something important, I use both hands because then I don't drop it. There's no risk of dropping it because my brain automatically remembers that it's carrying something. It's weird. But it doesn't happen all the time, and it is something that I can gauge a lot of the time, because if my hands are really, really shaking, I know that I'm more likely to drop things. But it's not always the case. But yeah, it gets really annoying fast. And then we've got symptoms like feeling like your limb isn't yours. Down my left arm, on the odd occasion, it'll go completely cold. You know, like it's been sat in the snow for like hours, and somebody then needs to, it's been cut off. It's weird. I don't know why it does it. It lasts for a little while and then it goes back to normal. The first time it did that, I freaked. Actually, physically freaked out. I freaked out. The whole body. No, I was like, what the fuck is going on with my body? Ah! Yeah, completely freaked out. And then when it went back to normal, I phoned my doctor, who contacted my neurologist, who told me it was completely normal. I was like, yay, cheers. That's like, great. But yeah, that happens every once in a while. And then we get the functional seizures. I have them. Like I said, I've been getting them since I was 18. Some people with these, and so I did meet one woman, I felt so bad. Her seizures are worse than mine, because she actually does have things like the uncontrolled shaking. She can become unresponsive sometimes. It's horrible. Whereas mine are, I just suddenly become motionless. I just become unresponsive and motionless for a period of time until the seizure stops. Ta-da! Whereas this poor woman, her seizures are really bad and it's not nice. But they're not real epileptic seizures. They're classed as non-epileptic seizures. And in the grand scheme of things, they're called functional seizures, according to science. You also get things like a functional tremor, which I do get. Most people with FND get them. My hands constantly shake. You get things like muscle spasms. It's called functional dystonia, right? It's to do with the muscle spasms. So the muscle spasms mean things like curled fingers, and it does generally affect either your hands and the ankles. Now, it doesn't generally affect my ankles, but it does affect my hand. And it's usually the left hand. I don't know why it goes down the left side of my body, but it does. Where on the odd occasion, it doesn't happen very often, but if I start feeling really stressed, the whole of my left hand will just curl up. Literally curl up like that. Where I will end up in a fist where the whole entire hand will go like that. It's painful, it's not nice, and it lasts for a while, and the whole hand is shaking while it's doing this. It is horrible. Like I said, it doesn't affect my ankle, but I'm assuming that if it affects the ankle, it will do something fairly similar, and it won't be pleasant. The gait disorder. Now, I have a gait disorder. My leg drags. On its worst days, my leg will drag. My leg will drag. My foot will not pick up off the floor. There will be times where I won't be able to walk because I'll be walking along and my foot will suddenly suddenly stop. So I'd take a step, and then the second the other foot's supposed to move, it just won't, and I'll just fall. It'll be a sudden stop. It'll just stop moving all of a sudden, and I will just be on the floor. I must admit, since I've started using the walking stick, I don't fall over anymore. Now I just trip over the walking stick, and it kind of just breaks my fall. So it's like I trip over and I don't fall over. It's great, just trip over the walking stick and like stumble around a bit, which is useful but annoying. But yeah, my leg will drag, and my foot tends to sort of not pick up off the floor and will do a sudden stop. So I end up, it's not nice, and it's really frustrating on days like that. Now, most of these I don't have. So I don't have things like face spasms, or tics, or drop attacks. Okay, I don't have any of those. I do have jerks and twitches, because my left shoulder will jerk and twitch on the odd occasion. It's usually my left shoulder, and my head will jerk to the left. Don't quite know why it's always to the left, but it is always to the left. There are sensory issues as well, like sensory symptoms. But yeah, it is all about, it's not pleasant. We're nowhere near finished. We have things like cognitive symptoms, right? You ready for this? We lose track of time and lose track of what we're doing. This happens all the time to me, and I'm pretty sure it happens to a lot of other people with FND. It is, although it's not classed as a common symptom, I know several people with FND who do have this issue. If we get distracted from what we're doing, you will forget what you're doing. And you've all heard the thing, you've walked into the kitchen and forgotten what you've walked in there for, and you've like gone back out and then remembered. Well, we live like that. And it's this concept of, why did I come in here? What was I here for? Oh dear, I can't remember. Right, now, say you're in the middle of a task and you're actually performing that task, you get distracted from that task. Even if it's for like a minute, you will then forget what you're doing and have to try and remember it, which isn't easy. And you'll lose track of time, so you'll forget how long you've been doing something for. I do that all the time. I will lose track of how long I've been doing something, or how long I haven't been doing something, or whether I need to do something at a set time or not. I set a lot of alarms. Because if I don't, I forget what I'm doing and what time it is. And sometimes, I mean, I have on my wall, I have what's classed as dementia block. It gives me the time, the date, the year, because I forget. There are alarms that I can set on that clock to remember to take my medication. Oh shit, I haven't taken my medication. Oh fuck. I'm going to do that in a minute. Yeah, I'll go and do that in a minute. So you'll go blank, lose tracks of conversations, which pisses my partner off. It does. He'll start talking to me, and generally as a rule, I've gotten quite good during conversations where he can talk to me at things, and I can sort of kind of keep up, because obviously with an autistic in the house, you kind of get used to the concept of, I don't need to understand the whole conversation, I just need to know where to respond. You know, so I've gotten quite good at that. So it's not quite so noticeable anymore. But when you forget your words, and you know, and it becomes difficult. Yeah, you tend to lose everything as well. I mean, I don't lose a lot of things. I forget where I put them. Kind of the same thing. But if I'm going to forget things, if I'm going to lose things, it'll be like things like my notebook. I tend to forget that a lot. I forget where I put it. I've got another one somewhere and I can't remember where it is. My shoes as well. Sometimes I'll like take them off at the top of the stairs instead of at the bottom of the stairs, and then forget where I put them. If I don't leave my keys in the normal place and I brought them upstairs, I will lose them completely, and I will panic, because I will be absolutely convinced that I've left them outside somewhere, dropped them somewhere. Yeah. It's like, yeah. But you do. Once we get past all the cognitive issues, we end up with things like speech and swallowing difficulties. Now, I have no swallowing issues, but I do have some speech issues. Now, there are people with FND who have slurred speeches or develop a stutter or have things like a hoarse voice. I am one of the few that have things like, most of us have this one, where we do things like have difficult finding words and unintentionally mixing up words. Now, there is one video on my YouTube about the elections, where it took me like a few days to realise that I had mixed up my elections. And instead of using the local elections, I said it was a general election. And I didn't even realise I'd done it until a few days later. And by that time, there was no point correcting it, because it was like, whatever. And sometimes, I do it all the time. I mean, I do it all the time. It pisses off my son to no end. I have to be really careful how I speak. Part of the reason that I write everything down and use notebooks is, one, because I can't retain a lot of information in one go, so it makes it easier, and also it lessens the chance of me mixing up or forgetting what I'm saying. Because sometimes there are words that I know but can't say. It's like my brain goes blank. And it does, it goes blank. Now, it pisses my partner off. We can be in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden my brain's just whatever. And it does go blank. And then I can't find any of the words that's in my head. So he's sitting there asking me what the hell's going on in my head, because he can tell when I'm thinking things, and apparently I have this look on my face when I'm like thinking something. And he's like asking me what I'm thinking, and I'm sitting there going, I'm thinking something, I just don't know how to say it, I can't say it, and these words just will not come out of my mouth. and I can't physically say what I'm thinking because one, my brain is really feeling muddled and I'm not quite sure what it means, and two, the words won't physically come out of my mouth. So I'm sitting there sort of going, I don't know, I'm not sure, it's, yeah, brain's gone blank, not sure. And you see this look of absolute annoyance on his face. And there's nothing I can do about it. You know, because then it's killed the conversation we're having. And I'm just like, there's nothing I can do. I can't actually physically tell you what I'm thinking because I have no clue how to, one, tell you what I'm thinking, and two, everything in my brain is feeling a bit muddled, so I actually don't know what it is anyway. You know, and then when my brain kicks back in, everything becomes sort of whatever, and I still can't find the right words to actually explain to him what's going on. So everything comes out like really confused, and he's looking at me like I'm like I've just said something ridiculous to him. And I'm like, you don't know, I'm so sorry. And you would have thought it'd be used to it by now, but you can see it annoys him. But yeah, it is hard work. It does kill conversations, and it's not easy, you know, when he really needs me to be sort of a bit more open with him. And things like that happen. You know, it's not easy. Yeah, so things like that happen to a lot of people with FND. It's not nice. And then we get something called persistent postural perceptual dizziness, or PPPD, also known as functional dizziness. I do have this. It has all the symptoms of vertigo, is what it has, but it's horrible. The absolute dizziness that you feel on a daily basis, and it's not nice. Now, I don't have this, well, I kind of have this, but only in one sense, the visual symptoms that you get with FND. Now, when I went and had my eyes checked, you do have to tell any doctor, once you've been diagnosed, you have to tell them that you have FND so they can check that whatever's going on isn't related or is related. They have to check it to make sure that whatever's going on or rule out whatever's going on is either FND related or not. You have to let them know. You have to tell your doctors and your hospitals and everything every time you visit them. So they have it on record that you have FND. They have to. You have to do that. So when I went and got my eyes checked at the ophthalmist, the first thing he started doing was checking for FND symptoms. Luckily for me, my eyes have nothing to do with that. But if you do have it, you'll get things like blurred vision, double vision, or reduced vision. You also get something called a photophobia, which is a light sensitivity. Now, I do have that. I also have a sound sensitivity. So I have a phonophobia as well. And then, of course, you get things like dissociative symptoms, which I also have. Yeah, I have what's classed as dissociative fugue states. So you get things like you feel like your body's not connected to you, it doesn't belong to you, you're disconnected from the world, you're spaced out, you feel like you're floating, sort of out-of-body experiences, you're there, but you're kind of not. You know, there are all ways to sort of describe what dissociative state kind of feels like. But they are generally connected to people with PNES. If you have the non-epileptic seizures, 8 times out of 10, you're going to end up with dissociative symptoms as well. They are connected to each other. you're less chances of having just one of those. If you have one, you generally have both with FND. So yeah, they tend to sort of connect. So if you have the seizures, the chances are you'll have dissociation as well. There are actually what they're classed as common symptoms. Now I have most of these as well. No, the chronic pain they class, you can have things like fibromyalgia, things with back pain and neck pain. My back issues have nothing to do with FND. So yeah, quite lucky in that rates. Persistent fatigue, sleep issues. I have sleep issues. I am on a sleeping tablet. I'm still awake most times at night. Sometimes I don't sleep at all. Migraines, headaches and facial pains. I have all of those. I'm on really strong migraine medication. And I get cluster headaches and all sorts of things. And anybody who's ever had a migraine can actually turn around and say they don't have facial pain with it is insane, because it does. It hurts your entire face. It's horrible. IBS, do not have that one. Anxiety and panic attacks, yes, I have those. I have times when they're not so bad, and then I have times where they are off the charts. And I was actually diagnosed with anxiety, depression and PTSD, and they are all symptoms of FND. Now, I know for a fact that my PTSD has nothing to do with FND, but my anxiety and depression and the panic attacks, they are linked to my FND. There is also something they class as a chronic urinary retention, which isn't as serious as you think, and actually can be mistaken for something called Fowler's syndrome, which I'm going to look into because I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. I've been doing this for half an hour. What I am going to do is, before I get into the diagnosis and treatments, I think I'm going to leave it here, as it has been half an hour, and finish it tomorrow. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll see you